The creak came again, deeper this time, wood flexing under too much weight, too many people who thought this crossing would always be there. Claire heard it too. Her head tilted just slightly, eyes flicking down to the planks beneath her heels. For the first time, she stepped back half a pace. Not fear. Not yet. Just awareness. That was enough. Behind her, the school bus engine idled louder, a low diesel rumble vibrating through the bridge. A kid pressed his face against the window, watching everything like it was a show. Phones were already out. Recording. Always recording. Claire lowered her voice. "You are creating a safety issue," she said. "Emergency services use this route." I glanced at the far end where her security truck sat angled across the exit, blocking any chance of reversing the line. "Looks like your own people locked you in," I said. She did not like that. Her lips pressed tight. Another horn cut through the air, longer this time. Someone yelled about being late for work. Someone else shouted about calling the county. Good. Let them call. I had already made mine yesterday. The metal of the lock was still cold when I touched it again, just to feel the weight of it. Solid. Simple. Final. Claire stepped closer until we were only a few feet apart. Her perfume cut through the damp air, sharp and expensive. "Remove it," she said, slower now. Each word placed carefully. I shook my head once. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just enough. The guard behind her shifted his stance but did not move forward. He knew better. Or he knew enough. The wind picked up and rattled the chain, a dry metallic chatter that echoed over the water. That sound carried. It reached every car, every driver, every person waiting on that bridge. A line of people who had never thought about where they were standing. Not really. Claire turned slightly, scanning the line. Calculating. Always calculating. I watched her count the problem in real time. 1 bus. 6 SUVs. 3 work trucks. A delivery van with a ticking refrigeration unit. Every minute cost someone something. And every minute tightened the knot around her perfect system. "You are trespassing on community infrastructure," she said, louder now, for the audience behind her. I let that hang for a second. Then I pointed down at the timber under her feet. "You are standing on mine," I said. The silence after that was different. Thicker. Even the horns paused for a beat, like the whole bridge needed to hear it land. Claire's eyes narrowed. Not confusion. Not disbelief. Recognition. That was the moment she realized this was not a bluff. Not a misunderstanding. Something shifted behind her expression, quick but visible. The kind of shift you only catch if you are looking for it. I had been looking for it for 2 weeks. A man in a work vest stepped out of one of the trucks and walked up behind her. "Ma'am, we got a job site waiting," he said. "We cannot sit here all morning." Claire did not turn. She did not acknowledge him. She just kept her eyes on me. Control was slipping, and she knew it. The bridge groaned again under the load, a long low sound that rolled through the beams and up into the soles of my boots. Old wood telling the truth no one else wanted to hear. I looked past her at the far bank, at the line of mailboxes and identical roofs just beyond the trees. Quiet. Orderly. Dependent. Every single one of them tied to this narrow stretch of timber and bolts. And now, to me. Claire inhaled slowly, steadying herself, then reached for her phone. "Fine," she said. "We will do this properly." That word hung in the air longer than it should have. Properly. Like she still believed she controlled how this would play out. I watched her dial, watched the confidence return in layers, rehearsed and practiced. That was her strength. Systems. Rules. Pressure applied in the right places. But she was dialing into the wrong one this time. And she did not know it yet. The call connected, and her tone changed instantly, smooth and authoritative. "Yes, I need county enforcement at Willow Ridge Access Bridge," she said. "We have an individual blocking essential community infrastructure." She paused, listening, eyes still locked on me. Then something flickered again. Smaller. Sharper. Not fear. Not yet. But close enough to recognize. I shifted my weight and glanced once more at the chain, then back at her. Because the moment they answered her call was the moment this stopped being her fight. Claire held the phone to her ear, posture straight again, voice calm like nothing had slipped. "Yes, we need immediate assistance," she said. "This is a restricted access route being unlawfully blocked." The word unlawfully hung in the air, sharp and deliberate. Behind her, the line of vehicles stretched longer now. Another truck had pulled up at the far end, only to stop short when the driver saw the chain. No one was turning around. They could not. Not with the security vehicle angled across the exit and the narrow approach boxed in by trees. The bridge had become a funnel, and they were all stuck in it. I could hear doors opening. People stepping out. Gravel crunching. Low voices rising into something less patient. Claire listened to the dispatcher for a moment, then turned slightly away from me, lowering her voice again. "Yes, multiple residents are affected," she said. "School transport is delayed. Commercial vehicles are blocked." She paused, then added, "Emergency access could be compromised." That word again. Emergency. She was building her case out loud. I watched her do it piece by piece. It was clean. It was practiced. It almost worked. Almost. A man in a polo shirt pushed his way up beside her, phone in hand, filming. "This is insane," he said to his screen. "Some guy is holding up the whole neighborhood." He angled the camera toward me. I did not move. I did not wave. I let him film the chain. The lock. The post driven into the ground on my side of the bridge. Let him show exactly what this was. Claire ended the call and slipped the phone into her pocket like she had just signed something important. "County is on the way," she said, loud enough for everyone behind her to hear. A few people nodded. A few looked relieved. Systems again. They trusted systems. I glanced down the length of the bridge. The school bus driver had shut off the engine now. The sudden quiet made everything sharper. Water moving under wood. Chain tapping against steel. Someone tapping a foot against the planks in a steady, impatient rhythm. Tick. 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 Time was becoming part of the pressure. Claire stepped closer again, lowering her voice just for me. "You are making this worse for yourself," she said. I looked past her at the line of vehicles, at the drivers checking their watches, at the delivery van with the refrigeration unit starting to whine louder as it worked harder. "No," I said. "I am just not fixing it for you." That landed differently. She felt that one. I saw it in the way her shoulders stiffened for a split second before she smoothed it out. A distant siren cut through the trees. Faint at first. Then clearer. Heads turned. Conversations shifted. Relief started to ripple through the line. Help was coming. That is what they thought. The security guard straightened up, adjusting his belt, confidence returning in small visible movements. Claire allowed herself a breath, slow and measured. Control was close again. Or at least it looked that way. I leaned back against the post and folded my arms, watching the far end of the road where the siren grew louder. Because the sound of that engine was not what interested me. It was who would step out when it stopped. The first patrol unit came into view around the bend, tires crunching over gravel, lights flashing against the tree line. It rolled to a stop just short of the bridge, angled slightly, blocking any chance of another vehicle squeezing through. The engine idled. The door opened. And the look on the driver's face told me this was not going to go the way Claire expected. The patrol car door shut with a dull thud, and the deputy took one slow look at the chain before even glancing at Claire. That told me everything. He adjusted his hat, boots crunching over gravel as he walked up to the edge of the bridge, eyes tracing the line of vehicles, the stalled bus, the locked steel cutting clean across the entrance. He did not rush. He did not speak right away. Claire stepped forward first, voice already loaded. "Officer, thank you for coming," she said. "This man is blocking essential access to a residential community." The deputy nodded once, but his attention shifted past her. To me. Then down to the post. Then to the lock again. He crouched slightly, inspecting the chain without touching it. "Morning," he said, finally. Simple. Neutral. I gave him a small nod. "Morning." Behind Claire, the tension shifted again. People leaned forward. Waiting. Expecting the moment where authority stepped in and solved it for them. The deputy stood back up and looked at Claire. "This your bridge?" he asked. She did not hesitate. "It serves our community," she said. Clean answer. Not the same as the question. He let that sit for half a second. Then he looked back at me. "You put the chain up?" "Yes." Another pause. Wind moved through the trees, carrying the smell of engine heat and damp wood. Somewhere behind us, a car door slammed. The deputy exhaled slowly, like he had seen this kind of situation before. Maybe not this exact version, but close enough. "Anyone here got documentation on ownership?" he asked. Claire lifted her chin slightly. "We have established use rights," she said. "This has been a primary access route for years." Years. She leaned on that word like it could hold weight on its own. The deputy's eyes moved back to me. I did not reach for a folder. I did not pull out papers. I just tapped the wooden post beside me once with my knuckle. Solid. "It is part of my parcel," I said. "And today it is closed." That was enough to shift the air again. Not loud. Not dramatic. But final. The deputy glanced over his shoulder at the line of vehicles, then back at Claire. "Ma'am," he said, "use does not automatically mean public access." The words landed like a small crack spreading through glass. Claire's smile came back, thinner this time. "We are not talking about technicalities," she said. "We are talking about dozens of residents being blocked from leaving their homes." A horn blared behind her, longer, angrier. Someone shouted about being late again. The deputy did not turn. "We are talking about access across private property," he said evenly. "That is exactly a technicality." Claire's jaw tightened. There it was again. Another fracture. She stepped closer to him now, lowering her voice but not enough to hide it from the rest of us. "Officer, this is creating a public disruption," she said. "Surely you can require him to remove the obstruction. Until this is sorted out." The deputy's gaze held steady on her. "I can keep the peace," he said. "I cannot force someone to open what may be their private access point without a court order." That word hit harder than the others. Court. It changed the scale of the situation instantly. People behind her heard it too. You could feel it ripple down the line. Phones lowered. Conversations shifted. This was no longer a quick fix. Claire went very still for a moment. Just a moment. Then she straightened again, posture snapping back into place. "Then we will escalate appropriately," she said. Controlled. Cold. But there was a delay now, a fraction of a second between her thoughts and her words that had not been there before. The deputy nodded once, like he expected that answer. "That would be your option," he said. He stepped back from the bridge, giving both of us space. Neutral ground. Neutral stance. The engines idled. The chain rattled lightly in the breeze. And for the first time since the siren arrived, no one was telling me to open anything. Claire turned back toward me, eyes sharper now, calculation replacing confidence. "This is not over," she said quietly. I met her gaze, then glanced once more at the locked chain between us. "No," I said. "It just started." The next move was hers, and she knew it. Claire did not argue again. Not out loud. She stepped back from the edge of the bridge, heels tapping once against the wood, then turned toward her line of residents like she was stepping onto a stage. "Everyone stay calm," she called out, voice steady, controlled. "We are handling this." The word we carried weighed again, even now. People shifted, some nodding, some still filming, some already dialing their own numbers. A man near the delivery van started pacing, phone pressed tight to his ear. "No, I cannot get out," he said. "There is a chain across the road." He glanced at me when he said it, like I was the reason his morning had collapsed. He was not wrong. Claire moved through the front of the line, speaking low to a few residents, touching an arm here, giving instructions there. Rebuilding order. That was her instinct. Rebuild control fast enough, and maybe no one notices it slipping. The deputy stayed near his vehicle, watching but not interfering. Neutral. Always neutral. The school bus driver climbed down from his seat, boots hitting the pavement with a heavy thud. He walked halfway across the bridge and stopped when he saw the chain up close. He ran a hand along the wood railing, then looked at Claire. "I have got kids that need to get to school," he said. No anger. Just fact. Claire gave him a tight smile. "We are resolving it," she said. Same tone. Same script. But now it sounded thinner. The driver looked at me next. Not hostile. Just measuring. Then he nodded once and walked back to his bus. That nod mattered more than anything Claire had said in the last 10 minutes. I shifted my stance, gravel crunching under my boots, and took in the whole scene again. The line of cars. The restless movement. The growing noise. This was no longer contained. It was spreading. A second patrol vehicle rolled up behind the first, lights flashing briefly before going dark. More presence. More attention. Claire noticed it immediately. Of course she did. Her shoulders straightened again, and she pulled her phone back out. Faster this time. More precise. "Get me legal," she said as soon as the call connected. No greeting. No softness. Just direction. She stepped a few paces away, lowering her voice but not enough to hide the edge in it. "We have an obstruction situation," she said. "Private individual blocking primary access." She paused, listening, eyes flicking toward me, then back to the bridge. "Yes, I want options." Options. Not solutions. That was new. The wind shifted again, carrying the faint smell of hot brakes from the bus and something sharper from the delivery truck. Time was stretching, and everything was starting to strain under it. A woman near the front of the line crossed her arms and looked directly at Claire. "You said this road was secure," she called out. Not loud. But clear. It cut through the noise cleanly. Claire did not answer right away. That hesitation was small, but it landed hard. Another voice joined in from farther back. "Yeah, what are we supposed to do?" Questions now. Not just frustration. That was the real shift. Claire ended her call and turned back, smile in place again, but her eyes were working faster than before. Calculating angles, outcomes, pressure points. "We are working through a temporary access issue," she said. "Please return to your vehicles." Temporary. She needed that word. Needed it to be true. I looked down at the chain again, the way it held steady despite the constant rattle from the wind and the subtle movement of the bridge. Solid. Unmoved. Just like it was going to stay. Claire's gaze followed mine for a second, then snapped back up to my face. "You are isolating an entire community," she said quietly, stepping closer again. "Not for the crowd this time. Just for me. Think about how that looks." I met her eyes, then glanced past her at the rows of identical rooftops barely visible through the trees on the far side. All of it built on the assumption that this path would always be open. "I am thinking about exactly that," I said. Another horn sounded, shorter now, almost impatient instead of angry. The rhythm had changed. People were settling into the problem instead of expecting it to disappear. And that meant something: message delivery timed out. "Please try again." Claire did not argue with the deputy again. She stepped aside, just enough to create distance, but not enough to lose control of the scene. That was her instinct. Never retreat. Just reposition. Her phone came back out, screen already lit, fingers moving faster now. Not calling residents this time. Not posting updates. This was different. I watched her scroll, select, then hold the phone close to her ear again. Her voice dropped lower, sharper. "I need legal on this now," she said. The word legal traveled farther than she intended. People heard it. You could see it in the way shoulders stiffened, in the way a few drivers leaned back into their seats instead of pushing forward. This was not a simple blockage anymore. This was paperwork, time, money. The kind of fight most people avoid. A breeze pushed across the creek, carrying the damp smell of algae and old timber. The chain tapped lightly against the post. Slow. Steady. I stayed where I was. No movement. No rush. Claire paced 2 steps along the edge of the bridge while she listened, heels clicking in a tight rhythm. Tap. Turn. Tap. Turn. That rhythm was new. Less controlled. The deputy leaned against his vehicle now, arms folded, watching without interfering. Neutral ground. Exactly where he wanted to be. A man near the back of the line shut his truck door harder than necessary. "I got a delivery window," he muttered, loud enough for others to hear. Another voice answered, irritated, "So do we." Pressure was spreading sideways now, not just forward. Claire ended the call and stood still for a second, eyes fixed somewhere past me. Then she walked back, slower this time. More deliberate. "You think this is going to hold?" she asked quietly. "Not a threat. Not yet. A test." I glanced at the bridge beams again, then at the line of vehicles pressing weight into them. "It already is," I said. She followed my gaze for the first time, really looking at the structure beneath her. Not as a path. As a limit. That changed something. A delivery van engine sputtered, then steadied again. The refrigeration unit whined louder, working harder against the rising heat. Time was turning into cost. Claire exhaled slowly, then lifted her chin again, rebuilding that outer layer. "You are going to regret dragging this out," she said. There it was. The shift from control to pressure. I had been waiting for that. "You already dragged it here," I said. That landed. Not loud. But it stuck. She did not respond right away. Instead, she looked past me, toward the tree line on my side. Toward the dirt road that cut deeper into my land. The one her people had been using like it belonged to them. Her eyes narrowed slightly, calculating distance, options, alternatives. That was the moment she started looking for another way around. The problem was simple. There was not one. Not without crossing more of my property. The deputy noticed it too. I saw his gaze follow hers for half a second, then return to the bridge. He knew what she was thinking. He also knew how that would end. A light breeze shifted again, bringing the faint smell of hot brakes and engine heat building across the line. The school bus driver stepped down from his seat, stretching his back, scanning the situation with a tired expression. Kids inside pressed closer to the windows. Watching. Always watching. Claire turned back to me, composure mostly rebuilt now, but thinner than before. "This is not your only problem," she said. "You just made yourself one." I did not answer. I just rested my hand on the wooden post again, feeling the grain, the slight vibration from the weight still pressing across the span. Because this was never just about stopping traffic. It was about showing her exactly where her control ended. And exactly where mine began. She studied me for a long second, searching for hesitation, for doubt, for anything she could use. She did not find it. Not today. A car horn blared again, sharp and impatient, cutting through the air like a reminder that this situation was not cooling down. It was building. Claire stepped back one pace, then another, creating space between us again. Distance meant strategy. Strategy meant escalation. And escalation meant she was about to try something else. I could see it forming before she even moved. Claire did not look at me when she moved. She turned toward her security guard instead, voice low but sharp enough to cut through the noise. "Move the truck," she said. The guard hesitated. Just for a second. Then he nodded and jogged back toward the SUV blocking the exit. That got everyone's attention. Engines revved slightly. Heads turned. Hope flickered down the line like a signal. They thought she had found a way out. I watched the truck shift, tires crunching as it backed up just enough to open a narrow angle near the edge of the road. Not much. Not clean. But maybe enough for smaller vehicles to try squeezing around. That was her move. Not through the bridge. Around it. Claire stepped back, folding her arms, watching the space like she had already solved the problem. A compact sedan rolled forward first, inching toward the gap, driver leaning over the wheel, eyes locked on the narrow strip between gravel and tree line. The tires slipped slightly on the loose dirt. The engine hummed higher. People leaned forward again. Watching. Waiting. The deputy pushed off his cruiser and walked a few steps closer, not interfering, just observing. Neutral, but present. Always present. The sedan crept another foot, then another. Its right side brushed against low branches, leaves scraping against the windows with a dry hiss. Too tight. Too uneven. The ground dipped near the edge, soft from last night's moisture. I had walked that stretch myself. Measured it. Tested it. The front tire rolled into that dip and paused. The engine pushed harder. The car shifted slightly, weight leaning just enough to make the driver stop. Silence hit for half a second. Then the driver backed off. Slow. Careful. The gap was not a road. It was a risk. Claire's jaw tightened again. Not failure. Not yet. But close enough to feel it. She turned to the guard. "Widen it," she said. "Clear the edge." The guard looked at the ground, then at the trees, then back at her. No tools. No crew. No permission. Just dirt, roots, and my land. He did not move this time. That hesitation spread faster than any order. A man in a pickup near the front opened his door and stepped out, looking at the ground himself. He kicked at the dirt once, testing it. The soil gave way under his boot, soft and unstable. He shook his head. "This is not a road," he said, louder now. Others heard. Murmurs followed. Doubt replacing hope. Claire's control slipped another inch. She felt it. You could see it in the way her shoulders squared, in the way her voice sharpened when she spoke again. "Then we wait," she said. "And we handle this legally. But waiting was the one thing her line could not afford. Engines idled. Fuel burned. Time stretched. The delivery van's unit whined louder now, struggling. The driver stepped out, checking the back doors, then looking toward Claire with clear frustration. The school bus driver leaned against his door, arms crossed, watching her instead of me now. The focus was shifting. Not away from the problem. Toward the person who claimed she controlled it. I stayed where I was, hand resting on the post, feeling the faint vibration of every engine still running across that bridge. Claire turned back toward me slowly. No more quick movements. No more sharp commands. Just calculation. You planned this, she said. I did not answer right away. I let the noise, the heat, the pressure build around her words. Then I said, I watched you plan it first. That hit deeper than anything else. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just true. The kind of truth that does not need volume. She held my gaze for a long second, searching again, measuring again, trying to find a way to flip the board back in her favor. But the board had changed. The rules had changed. And for the first time, she was not the one writing them. A breeze moved through the trees again, carrying the sound of distant traffic from the highway they could not reach. Close enough to hear. Too far to use. Claire looked past me one more time, toward the dirt road cutting into my property, then back at the locked chain between us. Her next move was not going to be about cars or space. It was going to be about control. And she had just realized she did not have it. Claire did not speak right away. She stood there, arms still folded, but the posture had changed. It was no longer control. It was containment. She was holding something in. The line behind her was no longer quiet. Doors opened. Conversations grew louder. Frustration was no longer aimed at the chain. It was aimed at her. A man near the front pointed back toward the blocked exit. You said this was handled, he called out. Not yelling. Not yet. But close. Claire did not turn to him. That was the mistake. Ignoring pressure only makes it louder. Another voice followed. I have been sitting here 30 minutes. Then another. My kid is missing class. The school bus driver checked his watch again, then looked straight at Claire, not me. The shift was complete. I stayed still, listening. The creek moved under the bridge with a steady low sound, like it had all the time in the world. Claire finally moved. She turned, not toward me, but toward the line. She raised her voice just enough to carry. We are resolving this, she said. Please return to your vehicles. Some did. Most did not. They stayed where they were, watching her now instead of waiting. That was new. A man in a delivery uniform stepped forward, holding a clipboard, tapping it against his palm. Resolving how? He asked. Because my route is already off schedule. Claire opened her mouth, then paused. Just a fraction. That pause cost her. We are pursuing legal enforcement, she said. The word sounded strong. The reaction was not. A few people shook their heads. One woman laughed under her breath. Not mocking. Tired. The kind of laugh that comes when the answer is not enough. The deputy watched all of it without stepping in. He knew better. This was no longer about law enforcement. This was about pressure finding a direction. And right now, that direction was not me. Claire turned back toward me, faster this time. Open it, she said. Not calm anymore. Not measured. Direct. I looked at her for a second, then at the line behind her. You already told them this is handled, I said. Handle it. That hit harder than anything else. Not because of what it said. Because of who heard it. A few people nodded. Small, but visible. Agreement spreading without words. Claire saw it. Her eyes moved quickly across the faces behind her, reading the shift, calculating the loss. Control was not just slipping now. It was moving. The delivery driver stepped closer, voice firmer. "If this is private property, why were we told to use it?" he asked. No anger. Just a question. That made it worse. Questions spread faster than accusations. Claire's lips pressed tight. She did not answer him. Another voice joined. "Yeah, who approved this access?" That one carried further. Heads turned again. The chain rattled lightly in the breeze, a small sound cutting through the growing noise. Claire's phone buzzed in her hand. She glanced down, then back up. For a second, something real showed. Not confidence. Not authority. Concern. She turned slightly away, answering quickly. "Yes," she said. "I need confirmation on easement status immediately." Easement. The word landed differently this time. Not as a claim. As a question. I watched her shoulders tighten as she listened. No pacing now. No movement. Just stillness. That told me everything I needed. The delivery driver looked at me, then at the chain, then back at Claire. "You do not have rights to this, do you?" he said. Not loud. But clear. Claire ended the call without responding. She did not look at him. She did not look at the line. She looked at me. And in that moment, the structure she had been holding together all morning finally showed its cracks. The deputy shifted his weight slightly, eyes moving between us, reading the same thing I was. This was not about a bridge anymore. It was about what she had claimed, and what she could not prove. The wind moved again, cooler now, carrying the faint sound of traffic from beyond the trees. Close enough to remind them what they were missing. Too far to reach. Claire took one slow step back, then another, creating space she no longer controlled. Her voice, when it came, was quieter. "This changes things," she said. I nodded once, resting my hand against the post again. It already did. And the next piece of truth was about to come out whether she wanted it or not. Claire did not try to speak over it this time. The questions behind her kept building, one on top of another, faster than she could answer. "So we have been using private land?" someone asked. "Who approved that?" another voice followed. The delivery driver stepped closer, no longer looking at me at all. "You told us this was a valid route," he said. "We have been routing through here for months." Claire held her ground, but her posture had changed again. No more authority. Just resistance. "This situation is being reviewed," she said. The words sounded thin now. The kind of words people use when they do not have anything solid left to stand on. The deputy pushed off his cruiser and took a few slow steps forward, not stepping in, just closing the distance enough to be heard if needed. He looked at Claire, then at the line, then back at me. He did not need to say anything. The silence was doing enough. I rested my hand on the chain again, letting the metal settle under my fingers. The sound was small, but it carried. Everyone heard it. Claire followed the movement without meaning to. Her eyes dropped to the lock, then back up to me. That was where it ended. Not with an argument. Not with a threat. With a simple, visible fact she could not change. The bridge was not hers. The road was not hers. And the people behind her were starting to realize it. A man near the bus shook his head slowly. "We have been told this was community access," he said. "You made it sound official." Claire did not answer him. She could not. Not without admitting something she had been avoiding all morning. Her phone buzzed again. She looked down, read the screen, then froze for half a second before locking it. That was the moment. Whatever she had just been told confirmed it. No easement. No shared rights. No authority to use what she had been using. The entire system she had been leaning on had nothing under it. The delivery driver exhaled sharply and stepped back, shaking his head. "Then this is on you," he said. That sentence moved through the line like a shift in wind. Heads nodded. Shoulders turned. The pressure was no longer pushing toward me. It was pushing straight at her. Claire looked around once, taking in the faces, the frustration, the realization spreading from one person to the next. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. No script for this. No prepared line. Just a gap where control used to be. The deputy finally spoke, voice calm, even. "Folks," he said, "you are going to need to clear this area one vehicle at a time once there is a safe path. Not a solution. Just a reality. It would take time. It would take patience. And it would not involve forcing that chain open." Claire turned back to me one last time. No anger now. No sharp edge. Just something quieter. "What do you want?" she asked. Straight. No performance. I looked at the bridge, at the worn planks, at the line of vehicles that had treated it like it would always be there. Then I looked back at her. "Respect the line," I said. "And we can talk about access." Simple. Clear. The kind of answer she should have started with weeks ago. She nodded once. Small. Controlled. Not agreement. Not yet. But acknowledgement. Behind her, engines began to shut off one by one. The noise dropped. The tension shifted into something slower, heavier. Not over. Just changed. I stepped back from the post, leaving the chain exactly where it was. Because this was never about locking them in. It was about showing them what they had been standing on the whole time. And what it would cost to use it going forward. Claire turned away from me and walked back toward her line, no longer leading it, just part of it. And for the first time that morning, she had to face them without the bridge behind her.